You've likely heard how large multinational private equity firms are trying to buy up New Mexico's public utilities. For example, just last week, the Public Regulation Commission, the PRC, approved the sale of New Mexico's gas company to Bernard Capital Partners. And right now, one of the most wealthy companies in the world, Blackstone, is trying to buy PNM, our electric utility. There's been a lot of talk from top officials, including the governor, saying that we have to do the Blackstone deal. They say there's no other choice. And while PNM does need big upgrades to the power grid, and those upgrades do cost a lot of money, selling the company isn't the only way to pay for them. So let's dig in and talk about some other options the state could go with instead of selling one of our proudest homegrown companies to investors from Wall Street and Saudi Arabia. So the first thing that we could do is have the state invest directly in PNM. The state could use its $75 billion sovereign wealth fund managed by the State Investment Council. They could buy what are called preferred shares in PNM. Those shares could then be tied specifically to grid upgrade projects. Sounds a little complicated, I know. So basically the short version is the state puts money into specific projects. They get regular payments back. Those are the dividends. And once the projects are done, the state would cash out its shares. It's basically built like a temporary investment that pays off as the work gets finished. And that would also give PNM what experts call patient capital. That's money that stays invested long enough to help the company grow. And it could send a signal to other investors that PNM is healthy, which could also make its regular stock more attractive too. In line with that, the state could also set up a clean energy or infrastructure fund. Basically, the state legislature and the Legislative Finance Committee could set aside a special fund and put money into it for infrastructure or clean energy projects. The State Investment Council could also then put money into that fund. Speaking of which, a good option is to copy federal programs at the state level. So basically something like the Department of Energy's Transmission Facilitation Program. That's just a revolving loan fund that helps to fund power line projects, and DOE is the anchor customer. They buy up to half of a planned line's capacity for up to 40 years, and they can also sell the contract to refill the fund if they need to. New Mexico could create something similar in our state for power lines and or storage, and there's other options like blended public-private partnerships where the state and private companies could co-invest together. So we do have options. There are ways to do this without necessarily just selling the whole company. And the last question, what would this money actually pay for? Well, there is a lot to figure out, but we do have some ideas because PNM is finishing up its 20-year plan. It's called the Integrated Resource Plan. It's online. You can take a look at it. They put out a draft that lists what they need. And on page 6 of their Statement of Need, PNM talks about power sources that can run all the time without stopping. They call this firm dispatchable power. A little bit of utility lingo there. But on that list of firm dispatchable power is long duration energy storage. That's batteries and facilities that can store energy for more than 16 hours, which would also be good for wind and solar assets. Advanced geothermal, that's energy that's from heat deep inside the earth. A lot of work to do there, but a good possible avenue that is renewable. You've also got natural gas generation, which we already know causes a lot of pollution and challenges for communities. You've also got small modular nuclear reactors. These are sort of smaller nuclear plants, but right now the federal government is loosening safety rules on those, so that's concerning. And then you've got hydrogen, which the Gov has talked a lot about. Here's the thing I want to close with. There are ways to keep us moving towards clean and renewable energy. That's what our state's Energy Transition Act is supposed to make happen. And in fact, earlier this year, a good example is the SunZia transmission project, which came fully online and is now generating and moving the most clean energy from wind power anywhere in the whole country. But most of that power is currently leaving the state. So it's a good example of how boosting long-term energy storage would be so powerful, because it would mean we can store and use clean energy here at home and reduce the cost of our own utility bills. That's a win-win for PNM and for us as customers. Basically, the bottom line is if the state steps in with smart, targeted funding for critical projects, it's a win for us as customers and a win for PNM. It's also something we're going to need a lot more of as rising wildfires, extreme heat, flooding, and drought test our electric grid.